I'm Richard Bieler, and I'm grateful for being asked to learn Perek Samach V'Beis, 62 of Tehillim, as part of the remarkable tribute to L'Zecher Nishmas Sarah Rivka Bas Harav Nachum Umindel, Sarah Lam Drach. This is a project that, like Safe Tehillim, brings people together. So many people participating of different generations, people who knew Sarah at different points in her life, people who live in communities around the world. It's a project that's really unifying so many people around her memory, just as Sefer Tehillim is a unifying book. My memories of Sarah begin at Marashah and continue 2 years here in West Hempstead, but I'll characterize them by a Starbucks memory. In Marashah, I knew Sarah as a camper, and already she was smiling and full of energy. But in Starbucks locally, I had a very interesting experience. One morning, Sarah comes bounding into the local Starbucks, and everybody knows that whenever Sarah came in the room, it was with energy and warmth and a smile, and you knew she was there. And she went right up to the barista, and instead of ordering her favorite drink, or instead of the person knowing what Sarah wanted to drink, she pulled out a bag and gave it to Sarah and said, "Here are yesterday's coffee grounds." So apparently Sarah knew a great secret about how to make a garden grow beautifully, and that is to use not only coffee grounds, but to use Starbucks coffee grounds. But it was not so much the idea that she knew how to get the right coffee grounds, it was the interaction that she had with the lady behind the counter that was so remarkable. It was the warmth, it was the kindness, it was the thank you, it was the see you next time. And she had a relationship with everyone she met, a memorable relationship, a relationship of a smile and a happiness, and something that we all strive to do, and Sarah really lived it. So we were all fortunate, those of us who called her our friend, to know someone who was so positive in their outlook of life. The chapter of 62 is interesting in that regard, in that the author has both negative and positive expressions of experiences in their life. And the negative experiences are those when we were talking about trusting in human beings, and the very positive experiences are in trusting in a Kadosh Baruch Hu. And the words that are used in the Perek to describe man are negative words, false, illusion, while the words that describe a Kadosh Baruch Hu are words of strength, like Tsuri, Yeshuasi, Miskabi, Tikvasi, rock, fortress, heart, power, and refuge. If we look at the first pasuk, Lamnatseach al Yedusun Mizmar LeDavid, the word Yedusun appears at least one other time before in Sefer Tehillim, and it's defined in several different ways. Number one, the Radak says that this was a chapter that David HaMelech wrote and then gave to the Yedusan, the person who would then sing it, or the group, or the leader of the group that would then sing this chapter. Rashi gives two explanations for this word Yedusan. One is that it's klei shir, that it's instruments that are used for music or singing, and the second is that it comes from the same word as daled tuf vav tuf, in terms of dinan, bad decrees that are established by our enemies. So it's something in reaction to having a bad experience or living in a time when it was very difficult. The Radak explains the word, or focuses in on the word al Yedusan. Why is the word al used? And brings a pasuk in Shmuel Aleph, V'tispalel al Hashem ubacha tivkeh, to say when the word al is used, ayin lamed is used in such a context, it's really talking about a very strong kind of expression. That the tefillah that's described in Shmuel Aleph that uses the word al is followed by a double language of crying. It basically intensity, real strength. And the Malbim, in explaining the pasuk in Shmuel Aleph, says Bekavana shlema al Hashem livado, that the word al is used there to show I'm only depending on this. It's really kind of focused. Going along with that, the Malbim divides this entire chapter into 3 different parts. Even though there are only 12 psukim in this Perek, we have some very, very important ideas. The Malbim says that the first part, or one of the 3 parts, is we're talking about the troubles that we have with our enemies. The second part is, in a sense, a message, an internal message to the author himself, which is also designed as a lesson for us to look inside of ourselves and to strengthen our faith and believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the third one is that don't worry, there will be divine judgment. That even though you're going through a difficult time, whether individually or nationally or in the community, however it is, don't worry, at some point there will be judgment and things will work out. In Pasuk Beis it says, Ach el Elokim dumia nafshi mimeno yishuasi. And the word ach is something that is discussed whenever it appears in the Torah, but you should know that this could be called the Perek of ach, because there are 6 psukim in this Perek. 1/2 of the psukim in Samach Beis begin with the word ach. 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 10, if you want to count. And the word ach is explained that HaKadosh Baruch Hu alone, again, has the ability to do things properly. The Al-Shich talks about this, Ve'olav yisparach levado, that only HaKadosh Baruch Hu and not on people can you depend on. So the word ach being like an exclusion helps us focus in on that idea. And similarly, in Pasuk Vav, where the word is used again, ach le'elokim domi nafshi ki mimenu tikvasi, which is translated, for God alone my soul waits silently, because from Him is my hope. In other words, that is the one in whom, Kadosh Baruch Hu is the one in whom I can rely. And the double language of the double language in Pasuk Vav of saying the tikvasi, in Pasuk Zayin, where it says Ahu Tsuri v'Yeshuasi, that He alone is my rock and my salvation, talks about the duality, that we're really praying for two things. We're not only praying for the idea that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will be there for us, but also that there will be a real redemption, that we will see the conclusion of all of our prayers and hopes and the answers for all of our prayers and hopes, that not only won't there be golus, but also there will be deliverance. And also Kadosh Baruch Hu is referred to as the one who will have kavod, and also Bnei Yisrael will have kavod. That again, it's not enough that we want our golus to end and we'll be all together. That will be wonderful, and that should happen as soon as possible. But we also are waiting for the day when the entire world will recognize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the creator of the world and will live that kind of life. Toward the end of the parak are 2 psukim, which we'll learn together first, and then we'll do a little explanation. Achas diber Elokim shtayim zu shamati ki oz le'Elokim ulecha Hashem chased ki ata tishalem leish b'maseinu. One thing has God spoken, 2 things, these 2 things I have heard, that the strength belongs to Hashem, and yours, Hashem, is kindness, is chesed, and you reward each man in accordance with his deeds. The chapter ends on a very positive note. What are the 2 things that were heard? There's much discussion when it says Hashem speaks once, and we heard 2 things. One explanation is Moshe Rabbeinu going up twice to get the Torah in terms of the 2 journeys up Har Sinai. The second one is Zachar v'Shamar b'Dibur Echad, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has the ability to speak once, and at the same time we can hear 2 messages, but also the idea that I hear that from HaKadosh Baruch Hu that what He says will be true. I hear one thing, I am able to go deeper into it. I can really hear it. I can not just hear the message on a superficial level, but I can also hear what the message really means. When we look at the last pasuk, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is described as chesed, as a Baal Chesed, Ulecha, Adonai, Chesed, Ki Ator Tishalem Leish K'Maasehu, this theme of chesed is something we should look at for a moment, because it really was the major theme of Sarah's life. Not just any chesed, but chesed on the level of a HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Again, a deeper chesed, a double layer, triple layer, however you go down, chesed resides on several levels, but in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's kulo chesed. Everything HaKadosh Baruch Hu does is chesed, even if we don't understand it. And so much of Sarah's life was filled with not only chesed, but deep chesed. And how far can chesed go? How far do we have to try and bring chesed? There is no limit. First Mishnah in Peah, Ela dvarim she'ein lahem shir. That there is no limit, and that's included, Gemilas Chasadim is included in the list, that there is no limit to it. And when we think of Rus, as we get closer to Shavuos, that Rus was also someone who practiced chesed, and we see that her chesed went beyond the norm, the way she took care of her mother-in-law and did different things. And we see that that's really the way to do chesed. And the Torah opens with an act of chesed and ends with an act of chesed, with many chasadim in between. The Sarah that I remember in Marashah was a Sarah of chesed, even at a very young age. And the Sarah I knew in West Hempstead was a Sarah of chesed. May her memory be for a blessing.